what we cut was auto theft.
That's right.
We cut auto theft by 50% under the previous common sense Conservative government. And he's right. We did it at a lower cost to taxpayers. And he's also right that he reversed our reduction in auto theft because it has exploded by 32% since he took office, just as the bureaucracy has exploded. He has not put it into frontline officers. In fact, at the Port of Montreal, there's only 5 of them to inspect 500,000 containers, only 1% of which get inspected. Why won't he price consultants and bureaucrats and get boots on the ground?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It would be more credible what the Leader of the Opposition was saying if he hadn't voted against sending $121 million to the province of Ontario to fight against organized crime and car theft. If he hadn't announced that he's voting against our fight against money laundering. Mr. Speaker, he still has time to change his perspectives and get behind our initiative to fight organized crime, to fight auto theft, and to stand up for Canadians. He cut thousands of jobs under his previous government from border services. We've invested in them, and we will continue to.
He still has time to change his mind.
The Honourable Member, Leader of the Opposition.
Say it softly and slowly so the Prime Minister can understand.
Okay, here we go.
We cut auto theft by 50%. That's right. By half. Yes, while reducing the cost of the bureaucracy. And yes, we are voting against him putting hundreds of millions of dollars more into high-priced consultants and back-office bureaucrats that don't stop crime. My common sense plan will scan every container going out of the 4 biggest ports and put 75 border agents to do the inspections on the ground. Why can't we have more boots on the ground and fewer bureaucrats in offices?
Let's go! Holy sh**.
He talks about boots on the ground, but the government he was part of, that he's taking credit for now, actually cut thousands of jobs of boots on the ground at the Canada Border Services Agency. We've continued to step up to support Canadians. They like to mention C5. It is a bill that kept mandatory minimum penalties for car thefts on the books. They mention C75, which is a bill that raised maximum penalties on car theft. We're going to continue to invest in fighting money laundering, and we hope, and organized crime, and we hope that the Conservatives change their mind and vote with us to crack down on organized crime.
You are the money launderer, you idiot.
I'm going to ask all members to restrain themselves as they can listen to the questions and to the answers.
Holy shit,
Leader
folks.
of the Opposition.
He's hiked the cost, he's hiked the crime, he's not worth the cost, and he's not worth the crime after 8 years. He's also not worth the hypocrisy. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has been claiming for months that he had no involvement in or knowledge of the invitation of a former Nazi soldier to the visit of the Ukrainian president. Now we know that he personally invited that same individual. He actually said the opposite. And he said that the former speaker had to resign over doing the exact same thing.
Yep.
He hold himself to the very same standard and admit that he's not fit for office.
Wow! Get your I did not see that coming sticker. Link in the description, folks.
Minister.
Tax that the Leader of the Opposition is choosing to make against the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress demonstrates the extent to which this Conservative Party no longer stands with Ukraine. In just a few minutes, Mr. Speaker, to stand and vote in favor of a free trade deal that Volodymyr Zelensky himself is asking.
He almost said Putin.
And he is choosing to not stand with Ukraine, not stand with Ukrainians, and not stand with Ukrainian Canadians. Why are they abandoning Ukraine?
They're not, dude. Conservatives are more pro-Ukraine than liberals.
Alors.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Rent, and instead he turned and made false attacks against me. Apparently I'm living rent-free in his head. Here's the reality. Rent is going down in the States while it's coming up in Canada. Housing costs have risen 40% faster than the incomes of Canadians, the worst record in the G7, and the second worst in the OECD. if the Prime Minister's plan were really working, why is it that housing costs have doubled and our housing is becoming less affordable than almost any developed country in the world?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I think I'm going to leave aside the question of where exactly he's living rent-free and focus on the supports we're giving to Canadians. We are continuing to invest in meaningful ways in partnership with municipalities, with unions and building trades, with provinces across the country to solve this housing crisis that Canadians are feeling so acutely. Whether it's cutting the GST from purpose-built rental, whether it's moving forward with a tax-free savings account for first-time homebuyers, whether it's putting $4 billion in the pockets of municipalities across the country to increase density, to cut red tape, we are taking action on housing.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oui, il prend beaucoup d'actions pour...
Yes, he does a lot to increase housing costs. Rents have doubled. Mortgage has doubled. According to the news, the rental market says that rent's
gone down.
Rocket in Quebec.
But in the States, we're not going to fall for that again.
Construction starts are dropping considerably. Can the PM finally stop building bureaucracy so we can finally start building homes? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. The housing plan from the Conservative leader is mostly treating Quebec officials like they're incompetent. We are working with Quebec officials, with the provinces and the municipalities to invest. And I'd like to underscore that the $900,000 we put forward to accelerate housing construction in Quebec was doubled by the Quebec government to ensure that municipalities can do even more to tackle this housing crisis. That's a concrete plan, not these insults.
From South Shore St. Margaret's.
Well, the former CEO of the Liberal Green Slush Fund revealed, one, she warned Liberals that the Prime Minister's hand-picked chair, Annette Vacherian, should not be appointed because of her conflict of interest, and two, Green Slush Fund staff also told the Minister of this conflict, but Liberals appointed her anyway. Then Liberal board members went on to vote their own companies more than $20 million of Green Slush Fund money. Wow. Liberals had officials in every meeting, but did nothing about this corruption until it was in the media. Why did take a media story for the Liberals to act on this corruption?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Labour and Seniors.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives will say anything to oppose fighting climate change, including saying they want to slash an organization that was voted in by this Parliament 2 decades ago. We're sticking to the facts and due process. We'll continue fighting to get to the bottom of this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good job.
The Honourable Member from Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
This NDP Liberal government has built the worst imaginable system for government contracting. Right. The Arrive Scam Watchdog report found that the government built a system where companies that charge...
Come on!
...system in which people are rewarded for charging a high price and punished for charging a lower price. Please, sir, we want to pay even more.
I have like insanely fast internet. I don't know why I keep doing that.
And isn't worth the cost. After 8 years, the only explanation for this is complete insanity or outright corruption. Which is it?
Yeah, which is it?
Well, it's likely insanity and a tremendous amount of corruption.
I also appreciate the report from the Ombudsman yesterday that released all of the issues that we've been talking about in our committee over this very issue. And we've taken the recommendations, we've already started to act upon them, and we've already made some inclusions that the Ombudsman have identified. The member opposite, I know he uses that committee to do his TikTok videos, and he's very good at it, but what's really important is that we ensure that we improve procurement, and we're doing so, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What a load of crap.
Well-experienced man in Parliament. I would caution him to avoid using language like that could cause disruption and
Shut
the
up.
The Honourable Member from the top, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
His carbon tax deal does not distract from the fact that he announced $400 million in surface-to-air equipment that he has still not delivered. Right. What he did deliver is detonators to Putin, so that Putin could put them in landmines and blow up Ukrainians. He delivered a turbine that was refurbished in Montreal so that Putin could put it in his pipelines and pump gas and make money off Europe that we should be bringing home to this country. Why is it that he always stands up for the dirty dictators like Putin instead of the paychecks for our people?
There you go.
Once again, I would caution all members to be very careful about how they impugn motivations to other members.
Shut up.
Specifically,
speakers.
And this was the subject of a declaration which the chair had made back in October. And I encourage all members to please refer to it again to making sure that we keep on the right side of parliamentary language. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when the Leader of the Opposition refers to Ukraine as some faraway foreign land, when he continues to insist that all of his MPs, including Ukrainian Canadian MPs, vote against a free trade agreement that Volodymyr Zelensky is asking us to vote for to support Ukraine, he can't hide behind the kind of misinformation and disinformation that he regularly peddles in. It's very simple, Mr. Speaker. Will the members of the Conservative...
So I'm going to remind all members again. I know it's Wednesday. And I know
it's Wednesday, my dudes.
I know that all members, but as I had just...
You look like the least intimidating person ever.
As to the same degree that I just made a statement to the to a member.
He's got lines above his eyebrows for how much he frowns. You could see it right there.
I would invite all members to please listen to their whips for a second, and I will... Please.
Can you have them sit down when you're up? Thank you. You gotta run.
It's important.
I'm glad he didn't mute the mic this time.
I invite all members, please, to be very careful about impugning motivations or associating members with governments that we do find in this House to be disreputable, if not odious. So I'm just looking for all of us to make sure that we stay on the right, that we all wait and do our turn. And I will ask the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's to please come and speak to me at the chair, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss this. The honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he could not point to a single thing that I said that was untrue, because it is all factual. It is a fact that we already have an excellent trade agreement with Ukraine, that it does not include a carbon tax, and that there is no need for a carbon tax to be in any free trade agreement. In fact, there never has been a need for a carbon tax in any other free trade agreement in the history. But while he remembered a carbon tax, he forgot to include in the deal a ban on him sending detonators and turbines over to Putin. Why is it that he's so determined to allow Putin to acquire weapons and money rather than having a real free trade deal with Ukraine?
Wham bam, thank you, Sam.
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the official opposition has an opportunity to correct the record from him having called Ukraine a faraway foreign land by allowing his Ukrainian Canadian MPs, at a very least, to vote in favor of the renewal of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement coming up for a vote in the coming days. It is an opportunity for those who choose to stand with Ukraine to stand with Ukraine in this House and be counted. Why is he muzzling his Ukrainian Canadian MPs?
That's going to backfire in about 5 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, we are 100% united in our support of Ukraine and in our opposition to the carbon tax. 100% united. This is what he does. He divides. He wants to distract from the fact that he doubled housing costs, caused 30 homeless encampments in Halifax, caused shootings to go up by 100%, drug overdoses up by 300%. It is no wonder that he would want to use fear and falsehoods to distract from his many failures, and that is exactly what he is doing. Why won't he finally unite this country instead of trying to divide and conquer?
Let's go, everybody!
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this House used to be united in its support of Ukraine and its support of Volodymyr Zelensky. And yet now we see.
I'm going to please ask the Prime Minister to start up again. I'm going to ask all members please to listen to the response without interruption so that we can have an orderly House. Prime Minister from the top.
Mr. Speaker, this House used to be united in its unequivocal support for Ukraine, and then the Leader of the Opposition disparagingly referred to Ukraine as a faraway foreign land, something for which he has not yet apologized, and has demanded that all his MPs, including Prairie MPs who have strong Ukrainian-Canadian populations, vote against a free trade deal that Volodymyr Zelensky has deliberately and directly asked Canadians to support. When will he stand up for Ukraine?